All right. So let's get into it. So basically, my aim here is to help you make smarter, better informed decisions when it comes to these trading, crypto, and money-making opportunities. When I say opportunities, because they're generally not real opportunities. So I want to help you limit your risk and involvement in these scams and Ponzies and unsustainable hype, or at least help you understand if you are getting in one. I'll share what I've learned from experience, knowledge, research. And look, I'm always available. You just send me a message and I'll always give you honest insights and feedback. Of course, disclaimer, this is not financial advice, investment advice. It's educational purposes only. Not that I'm really going to be giving any of that, but a bit of a disclaimer. Okay, who am I? Why should you even listen to me? So I've got over 10 years in MLM, multi-level marketing, network marketing, crypto, trading, entrepreneurship, scams and Ponzies. I've been in many scams and Ponzies. Now, the first and the biggest one was USA Tech, if you've heard of that. That's where me, my mum, my sister combined lost over $200,000. That's 33 Bitcoin that USA stole from me. Do the math on how much that's worth today. So that was my first big expensive learning. Since then, I've been in many others, but willingly. I knew that, they're pretty much scams and Ponzi's. And my personality is high risk taker, gambler, which is unfortunate, but that's just how I operate. And so, I sometimes did get into those willingly, saying, let's see what I can pull out. But of course, nowadays I do not participate in any more scams and Ponzi's because it's just not something I want to be part of. And I definitely wasn't promoting it. It was just me putting in my money. So yes, I've made and lost of money. I've had some really expensive lessons and learnings, hence why I'm here sharing and helping you not make those mistakes, not have those expensive lessons. For example, earlier this year, I turned $16,000 into 1 million in 5 weeks in crypto in one meme coin. Now, greed got the better of me, and I watched that basically vanish and disappear as well. So there's just one example of how made fortune, lost fortune. When it comes to crypto, I actually just checked one of my wallets. In my time on just one wallet and just on Ethereum, I've done 3,686 transactions. That means buying, selling, investing into things and all that, which is the equivalent, and all that adds up to transaction fees. So when basically you're transacting on Ethereum, for example, there's a 0.1 to 1% of a fee. So of whatever you transact for, buy, sell, send, whatever you do on the blockchain, there's a tiny fee. My total fees that I've spent is 12.1 Ethereum in fees, which is today's equivalent of $43,000 just in fees. So I have moved and transacted anywhere from $4.3 million worth to 43 million. So if you just look at that in the middle, about $20 million. When I say I've got vast experience, I'm an expert. I've invested into hundreds and hundreds of ICOs, which is basically initial coin offerings, getting in early. I've done mining. I've done master nodes, which is another form of mining. I used to live off running these for a few years. Trading, I've done an extensive amount of trading. I wouldn't say I've been profitable, but I have lost hundreds of thousands, meaning I've learned a lot of lessons, and I've spent about 50,000 on just prop firms. which if you don't know what a prop firm is, it's where you basically pay a small fee and you have to pass all these tests and you can basically get a funded account of like, let's say $100,000. But even prop firms are generally all scams and they're mostly interested in basically making money from the fees. But anyway, like I said, been around the block. So I've called out many scams and Ponzi's in the past. You may have been in some of these. Cash FX, that was a really big one. And you know, the funny part is every time I call these out publicly, I get attacked. I have arguments with people because they just refuse to see the reality and the truth. And I'm always the bad guy. So like, I've called that Cash FX, Hyperfund, which started off with it was Hyperfund, then I think it got rebranded Hyperverse, whatever. Ultron, another one, Validus, GSR Partners, Talk, IX Global, Debtbox, and endless more. And then there's some more recent ones which are still operating. Aparitum, Dow1, Texit, BitHarvest, SmartLab, AI Intuition. And look, I have a 100% track record. Every single one I've called out, I have been 100% right and correct. So, you know, that's not me blowing my trumpet, so to speak. I've just been right because I see and understand these patterns. I see and understand the scams and Ponzi's. And to me, I see the clear red flags that unfortunately most people miss. So, you know, also I know what to look for and I know where to look. So this is why I'm here, to try and pass on that knowledge. The challenge for me is getting what's in here out to you. I mean, I've got like 10 years of doing this, and then I've got to try and condense it into like an hour or whatever. So I'm going to do my best. So scams, Ponzi's, and all these hype platforms. So most of these, when I say most, 99%, financial and returns-based opportunities share the same traits. And they all pretty much have a scam part, which is essentially something deceptive or fraudulent, meaning whatever they say, they are not doing or is not happening. So if they say, for example, that they're doing trading, it's not really happening. There is no tangible, verifiable evidence to back up their claims. So if they cannot prove what they're saying, then there is basically no evidence or guarantee of them doing any of that. And that's what they do. That's why a lot of them are very deceptive. They lie, manipulate, all about trading, mining, all these things. Then all of them pretty much are a Ponzi scheme. The way they operate is that they pay out the people above from the money that comes in. So for example, let's say a scam and a Ponzi promises to pay you 10% a month. So what you do, for example, you put in $10,000 and then they need to pay you now the following month $1,000, which is 10%. So what they do, there's no real trading or anything happening. You know, someone comes in and pays 10,000 and then they use some of that money to pay you that 1,000. Well, I mean, even before that, if you, let's say, put in 10,000 and they're giving you back 10% a month on your money, technically speaking, they're just paying you back your own money. And it's going to take at least 10 months, if you're getting 10%, to get back just your money. Now, there are other scams and Ponzi's out there where they do more of a put in your money and then you sort of get 10% in a month and they return everything. So basically you get back 11,000. But if they do something like that, like I said, all they do is they take the money that's coming from the people you know, that came in after you and they pay you. And this continues to pay all the people above, all these fake returns where there's nothing really happening. And it continues to run until basically there's not enough money coming in to pay everyone at the top. And then it falls over. And that's why both of these are unsustainable. They are not going to last and they're doomed to fail because that's how they're designed. They're scams, they're very deceptive. There's no real actual tangible revenue raising anything happening. And all they do is they pay people to go and promote it and then pay people up the top and also pay the MLM side. Because remember, in an MLM, they have to pay the MLM side, and then they have to pay whatever they are claiming, which is trading or mining. So they pay out a lot. So it becomes very unsustainable very fast. But again, they're ultimately built to enrich the owners, the operators of this, and the early insiders. So, if you're one of the early people and you go heavily on promoting it, you can make great money in them. But it is unsustainable by design and guaranteed to collapse once the new money stops coming in. So again, like I said, the problem is there's no actual, tangible, verifiable, real income generating activity. The returns are just paid from the new money coming in. And once new money stops coming in or slows down, that's it. It's game over. And, in crypto, they come up with these useless blockchains, worthless tokens. There's no real utility or use case to them. They have fake trading and mining. And what we need to understand is that hundreds of thousands of people fell and continue to fall for them. Like literally, it's insane how many people get fooled so easily. So I'm here to try and help you not make those mistakes. So, new scams and Ponzi schemes basically are created daily. Literally, there's at least one a day. And on average, they last anywhere from 1 day to 3 years. It all depends on how aggressively they promote it and how quickly the money is coming in. But yeah, I've been in some that fell over after a month or 2 months. And then some of the biggest ones like BitConnect, OneCoin, they ran for about 3 years. But just the 4 major big scams and Ponzi schemes, like you may have heard of BitConnect, there was one AfriCrypt, OneCoin, and MTI. Just those 4 accounted for an estimated 11.7 billion in investor losses. This is how big some of these scams and Ponzi's get. They get ridiculously big. So, how to quickly identify and spot a scam and a Ponzi. The one easy, very quick way is you do not control and have control over your own money and your own funds. Generally, what I'm saying by that is that you are asked to send your money to a platform, to a person, to a company. So once you've sent your money off, they can literally disappear with it tomorrow. And that's what they do. Like I said, the Ponzi continues to run and operate until there's no more money coming in to pay out. Then it's game over, falls over, and whatever all the last people came in and put in, that's what they disappear with, basically, or whatever's still left of all the other people that they haven't paid out fully. But the point is, if you're sending your funds, then 99.9% guaranteed already it's a scam and a Ponzi. Then the other easy way to tell if there's any promise or guarantee of returns. The one thing we need to understand, yesterday is gone, tomorrow doesn't exist. If someone is telling you something that's going to happen in the future, guaranteed scam and a Ponzi. Can anyone here tell me what is going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen in the week? No, we can't, because it does not exist. So even though someone has maybe done something in the past, and even if they're doing real trading or mining or anything, whatever they've achieved in the past has got nothing to do with tomorrow. And in fact, anything that's tangible and real will actually tell you, well, first of all, they won't make you any guarantees in the future. And they'll actually tell you that, whatever's happened in the past does not guarantee anything in the future. But all these scams and Ponzi's, they don't have disclaimers generally, and they're making you promises like 1% a day for like 30 days. They're making such a guarantee. How do they know they're going to make 1% a day when the entire market or something can completely crash or something can happen? So just trust me, if there's any guarantee of anything, it's guaranteed a scam and a Ponzi. Nothing legitimate will ever make any guarantees or tell you what you're going to make in the future. Also, a general rule of thumb, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And I've learned this also the hard way. And also another simple thing, right? If it's so profitable, why do they need you and why do they need your money? They don't. I can guarantee you that. If someone has an incredibly great AI bot, trading bot, they've beaten the best of the best and they're generating incredible returns, they don't need your money. No, and no one would give access to that to the general public, and they don't need your money because with the compounding aspect, you could turn a little amount of money into a large amount of money. And also, if they want money, they would go to big institutions and big rich people that would put in 1 million, 2 million like that, and not go to the everyday little person of, hey, you've thrown 1,000, you throw in 1,000. So that's another clue. If it sounds too good to be true, and if it's so amazing, so profitable, it's scam and a Ponzi. Just trust me, no person is going to give you access or share anything that really works. And they fool you with, but we're here to help people. No, that's not the case and never has really been. And the only case like that is when it's a scam and a Ponzi, and that's how they fool you. So, like I said, yes, people do make money in these things. And every time someone comes to me with one of these scams and Ponzi's, I tell them it's a scam and a Ponzi. And they say, well, but this person, my friends made this and my friends made that. Yes. And scams and Ponzi's pay out perfectly until they disappear. But remember, you just don't know when they're going to disappear. So, you could put your money in tomorrow, it might disappear. You put your money in today and it might disappear tomorrow. It might disappear next week, might disappear next month. You just have no idea. But yes, you can make money in them. But that doesn't mean it's actually real, legitimate, and tangible. Also, scams often do look real, and every scam and a Ponzi has tangible, real things about it. Some of them have like a blockchain, they have tokens, which are real, even though they're useless and garbage, but they're actually real. They also have real events in huge events, thousands of people. They actually have physical offices. All these big scams and Ponzi's had physical offices you can go to. I mean, I've met face to face the owners of USI Tech that freaking stole $200,000 from me. That doesn't mean anything. So all these fancy dashboards, they also, some of these scams, they fabricate photos and videos to give you the illusion that something is actually happening and that what they claim is real. But overall, there is no tangible, real evidence of any revenue, right? So that includes like trading, mining, or whatever the product. So there's no real revenue coming in. It's just all paid from the people coming in. Now, these are all the buzzwords that people fall for by the scams and Ponzi's. Blockchain, crypto mining, crypto token, coin, Web3, decentralization, automated trading and bots, smart contracts, AI, that's the biggest, latest one now, AI mining and all this garbage, and the metaverse, next generation. I can tell you now, if you see an opportunity with these buzzwords and it has an MLM attached to it, it's guaranteed to be a scam and a Ponzi. The only real way it's not is if it's some trading. There are some things out there that do have some bots, some things that you can actually verify and you can actually attach to your account with your own money that you're not sending anywhere, and money is generated in your accounts and the bot has history and stuff. And there are some things like that. But if it's anything generally to do with crypto, MLM, scam, Ponzi, 100% of the time. Why? Because basically, like I said, crypto, MLM, guarantee a scam. No real decentralized crypto project has ever or ever will use MLM. And they generally can't, because technically a crypto is just mathematical code and cryptography on the chain. They don't really have something that is making money to be able to pay out the MLM. The only thing that exists is a token that might go up in value if there's a proper adoption of it. So there can never really be an MLM side to it. And no crypto project's ever really going to use an MLM. So, no Bitcoin, no Ethereum, nothing legit has ever used and can really use an MLM. So that already is a clue. If it's anything to do with crypto and MLM, it's probably a scam and a Ponzi, unsustainable and going to disappear or or if there's a token, go to zero. So if a project pays commissions for signups, promises returns, or promises token price appreciation, because that's another one, they create some useless garbage shitcoin, and then you give them your obviously real money, and then they give you or they pay out in these bullshit tokens that they somehow convince you that this is going to go up in value. It's going to be the next Bitcoin. And also, if they sell you these token packages or nodes or mining, and it's MLM. So all these that use hype instead of some substance, it's not really a true decentralized crypto. It's just a Ponzi dressed up in tech and crypto. Now, we need to understand some stats. The crypto landscape. People have no idea that there's 35 to 45 million crypto tokens. That's how many exist. So when someone comes along and creates one, it's just another shitcoin in the sea of useless shitcoins. I have created my own crypto. It literally takes 30 seconds. So anyone can create a crypto. Just because someone's created one, it doesn't make it any useful. Just be mindful of that. There's only about 25,000 that are tracked by like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. These are platforms that like track some of these cryptos that are more useful and there's actually something happening with them. And less than 2,000 actually have some real use case. There's about 150 to 200 layer one blockchains, right? This is where basically like Ethereum, where other cryptos are built on top of. It's like land. And then there's like 50 to 100 layer twos. These basically help layer ones be more scalable and work better. But the point I'm getting at is everything has pretty much been created or thought of. There's no real new idea. Like everything is pretty much done. Crypto's existed now for about 10 years. And yes, it's going to be, obviously changing the world in many ways, but just be careful falling for the latest buzzword and the latest thing that's going to change the world, because it's likely been done and thought of. And if it's a legit real thing and crypto ain't going to have an MLM attached to it. So 200 to about 500 actually solve real world problems like Bitcoin, Ethereum. 99%, probably even higher, 99.5% have real no usage. They don't solve a real world problem. They have no volume or demand. It just has this slight demand for a short term until the Ponzi is running and people that are getting in it. But what we need to understand that Bitcoin actually solved real world problems. And that's why it's got its value. And again, like I said, literally anyone can create a blockchain or token in matter of seconds and minutes. And thousands are literally created every day. Thousands. Now, let's look at some of these buzzwords, blockchain. Blockchain, and I'm not here to help you really understand the tech and give you all these, expert understanding of the tech, but it's more about how it relates to scams and Ponzi. So a digital ledger is basically, it's a database and it's shared across many computers. That's what a blockchain essentially is. And what makes it so amazing that once the data is added, it can't be changed, right? So it's something very unique that, again, never existed until crypto and blockchain and Bitcoin came, around. So it's really useful when you need a tamper-proof records, like payments, voting, or tracking something like in supply chain. So that's when it's really useful. When you want trustless verification, because of course people are flawed, they can lie, they can make mistakes, they can do all this, but there's no mistakes on a blockchain. And everything is there publicly available, and it's very secure and can't be, like I said, changed once it's written there. So the real uses are, of course, Bitcoin payments and any other cryptos that run on blockchain. Walmart food or any sort of supply chain food tracking, where you can track and make sure, you can track back if something went wrong and no one can, lie about it. So it's really useful there. And another example, Estonia's digital governance, or voting, things like that, where, you want to make sure that there's no cheating. Now, it's also useless when a standard centralized database is cheaper, faster, and better. And that's why a lot of these crypto projects and scams make no actual sense. They're literally useless because a centralized version is better. And that's another thing that people get fooled by, is like I said, the blockchain hype. But it's using scams where there's no clear purpose or value. It's not solving a real world problem. It's just the buzzword decoration that the unfortunately inexperienced fall for. Now, decentralization, this is a big one because so many scams and Ponzi's use it, and people unfortunately don't understand what decentralization is and means. Now, decentralization is essentially, it means that there's no single point of control. It's basically a system that is shared by many, and it's trustless. And of course, Bitcoin is that. And like I said, Bitcoin is basically just mathematical code and cryptography, and it's all just on millions and millions of computers around the world. There's not one person, company, or anyone that controls it. And so stuff like this is really useful when you want fairness, security, and you want to cut out the middleman. And that's what Bitcoin has done. It's cut out the banks, and it's cut out government, it's cut out everyone. Until Bitcoin came along, we weren't able to transact peer to peer, person to person. But right now, with the power of Bitcoin and crypto, I can send any of you $100, $1,000, $1 million, whatever worth of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency, and it goes from my wallet into your wallet, and no one can stop it, no one can question it, no one can do none of that. And that's what makes this so unique. Before blockchain and crypto, we needed an intermediary, we needed a bank or a financial institution. If I want to send you money, I have to go through my bank, and then I tell my bank, send this person that. My bank will get that money and send it to you. And often, if I go to send you $1 million via bank, my bank will not do it unless I give them 1 billion things of why and how and where did this money come from and all this crap, and they can block it, they can stop it. So yeah, Bitcoin has solved a problem that has never been able to be solved before. I mean, it's done many other things, but it's that decentralization aspect. So, Bitcoin, again, there's no central owner. No one owns Bitcoin. You own your own Bitcoin that sits in your wallet or wherever, but no one owns and controls Bitcoin. There's another example of Filecoin, which is like shared storage, but they're just some examples of decentralization. And it's useless when basically one admin, one company holds power and control. And so that's why a lot of these scams and Ponzi's claim decentralization, but they have full control over everything. And even though they may have a blockchain, they have backdoor access and can change everything at any point in time. So it's a bit of an oxymoron. They claim decentralization, but it's completely centralized. So it's just funny me when I see these things, they claim decentralization, and I know it's all fully 100% managed and controlled and centralized by them. So like I said, it's a fake decentralization as a cover for central control. And again, people that don't understand this are easily fooled. So, if you look at real versus fake decentralization, so Bitcoin, again, real, there's no owner. Now, the scam part is an admin holds the admin keys. So every blockchain has something called an admin keys, which can give them full access to change, do anything, freeze everything, stop everything, withdraw your funds, do all these things, where it's impossible with something like Bitcoin. Also, if you look at Ethereum, just an example, it has thousands of nodes, meaning decentralization, meaning you right now can operate a node. And I used to run a node, which basically you need 32 Ethereum, and you can become a node, and you're helping secure and validate transactions and operate as part of that thousands of different people that all completely decentralized all over the world, right? In a scam, you've got one central point, basically one or two servers run everything. And, for example, mining or whatever, you have to go through the company. So it's all fully 100% controlled by them, and everything goes through them. It's not like you can go and do your own thing, especially with like mining. There's these scams lately coming with mining packages. You pay the company. That's not how it works. With mining, generally, you can connect to a blockchain and mine it yourself at home or do anything you want. And the reason you can't with scams and Ponzi is because there's no real mining and they're fully controlling everything, which completely goes against the whole ethos of decentralization and crypto. So again, Bitcoin, it's fully available public blockchain. You can verify everything, all the transactions, everything is there. But with scams and Ponzi's, you can't. There's no real visibility, and they have these ridiculously crap and fake blockchain explorers that you can't actually verify tangible things on it. Bitcoin, no one can block you, right? It's censorship resistant. But in a scam and a Ponzi, like I said, you can be frozen, blocked, or restricted. That again goes completely against the whole problems that decentralization and crypto has solved, where there's no middleman. It's borderless, it's censorship resistant. Again, Bitcoin's trustless. It's just code and code rules. But then with the scams, you must trust the founders or the admins to pay you and to not disappear tomorrow. Again, completely against everything that crypto stands for. Bitcoin works everywhere, but sometimes it scams and Ponzi's, countries or restrictions, or only works with their site and on their freaking thing, and you got to pay them. Again, Bitcoin, impossible to shut down. It's unstoppable. Yes, some governments can maybe ban it, but that doesn't mean, Bitcoin still runs and still operates. It's unstoppable. No one can stop it. And yeah, and then the scams, they have platforms, websites, and everything that can literally just vanish anytime. All right, now another one is crypto mining. A lot of scams and Ponzi's these days are using crypto mining as a way of, promising returns and extremely high returns and ridiculous stuff. Crypto mining is essentially where computers solve puzzles to secure crypto networks, and in return, they're rewarded. That's essentially it. Now, there's two types of mining. Is something called proof of work, where you're using electricity to basically secure that network. And that's what Bitcoin uses. And there's a few others that use proof of work. Then the other sort of main one is proof of stake. And this is where you have to have a certain amount. And Ethereum, for example, used to be proof of work, but it's moved over to proof of stake. So to basically participate in the mining of Ethereum, you need to have 32 Ethereum. And then basically what happens, you lock that up in a certain way. And then that's how you help basically to secure the network and you get rewarded. So these are the two types. One using electricity, and the other one you have to have and purchase a certain amount of these cryptos. Now, again, this is useful when, yes, it's keeping networks secure and it's decentralized, meaning anyone can participate. Right now, I could mine Bitcoin hypothetically on difficulty is so high, but hypothetically I could. And that would help secure the network, but I just wouldn't get rewarded. I'd be wasting electricity, basically. So that's why Bitcoin mining sort of is become unavailable to the everyday person. But that's why these scam companies that have AI Bitcoin mining and are basically claiming to beat the big miners that spend tens of millions on mining equipment and everything and at the forefront of everything. No company is going to beat these miners that comes along with some bullshit AI mining, this little gadget that's completely faked. And like I said, they're decentralized. So even with Ethereum, you can buy 32, stake it, and you can participate. So that's what decentralization means, that you don't have to get permission or you don't have to go through someone to do it. Now, it's useless when, first of all, you're mining useless coins, and that's what a lot of these scams and Ponzi's are. Texit is one of those. where a coin claims it's going to be the next Bitcoin, or it's going to be the next sound money, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, but it's all just bullshit hype. Or if you're purchasing mining packages or nodes that basically there's no evidence of it doing anything, you pay, someone, then again, it's basically garbage. So yeah, there are a lot of fake cloud mining with no real equipment, nothing's happening. And again, like I said, if you're paying a company for mining, if they're really that profitable, like they claim in mining, and they make these absurd guarantees of you're going to make this much or this much, and this is how profitable it is. If they're very good at it, they don't need your funds and they would not give you access to it. That's why the best Bitcoin miners in the world are making millions and they're not sharing that profit with you. Why would they? They're keeping it to themselves. So if someone comes along saying they found this amazing AI mining that's going to beat the best of the best, that, like I said, they're on the forefront of technological advances. They're always looking how they can improve and make their mining even more profitable. Like I said, there's huge warehouses of these big miners. And if someone comes along, we've got this little AI mining device that's going to beat the miner, and we need your money because we found this amazing thing. They don't. If they found something so amazing, they would use it for themselves and not share it with the public. I can guarantee you that. So yeah, don't fall for these mobile apps and dashboards pretending to mine and these pretty things on the screen when there's actually no tangible, verifiable evidence on the blockchain. Or they even fake sometimes photos and videos of mining equipment. That's how some of these scams and Ponzi's fool people. Now, crypto tokens and coins. These are basically digital assets that are on the blockchain that are used to pay, access features, vote on blockchains. You're all familiar with crypto tokens. Ethereum's one, Bitcoin's one. Ethereum operates on the Ethereum blockchain network. It's the token of that blockchain. And then there's many that are on Ethereum. But essentially, the problem with MLM tokens, they're pretty much garbage and useless. And like I said, crypto, MLM, you're never going to see it together. You're just not. No legitimate crypto will ever be an MLM. And the problem with all these MLM tokens, there's no real use case to them outside of the platform, right? They make these promises and hypes, the next Bitcoin, next bullshit, blah, 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 and they fool people to give them their money and in return get this garbage that's long-term guaranteed to go to nothing and zero. Why? Because there's 37 to 45 million better cryptos or being done before, or a much better alternative. So there's no real demand or buyers. And this is the key thing to understand here, that with all these scams and Ponzi's that have a token, all these people are getting it, whether it's from fake mining or buying token packages, whatever it is. Now, all these people at some point want to sell these bullshit useless tokens. Now, for someone to sell something, there has to be a buyer on the other end. Someone has to buy that useless shit. Now, why would anyone in their right mind buy it? That's the question you need to ask yourself. They wouldn't, because there's far better cryptos that are established, adopted, proven, and that actually solve real problems, unlike that garbage coin. So no one's going to be lining up. There's not going to be any real buyers lining up. And often some of the prices of these tokens is inflated by the scam and a Ponzi, because as people put money in, they're coming in, they go and buy these useless shit tokens. They take some of that money, and on the one or two exchanges that it's listed on, they buy it. So the value is really faked and manipulated and hyped and pumped to fake and illustrate that the value is going up, when there's no real actual demand from real everyday people. Then also, like I said, it's all just faked and manipulated. And also the volume. What many of you don't understand is that these exchanges where people buy and sell crypto, Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, all these exchanges, 80-90% of volume on a lot of these exchanges is completely fake and manipulated. And the smaller a crypto is, generally, the higher the fake and manipulated volume. So what that means is it's bots buying and selling. So it's like a bot buying and selling constantly backwards and forwards. So it creates this illusion that there's a lot of buying and selling happening of a token when it's not a real person. It's just bots making it seem like there's a lot of volume and a lot of buying and selling. And that's, again, how they fool you into, oh, look, there's a lot of liquidity, as it's called, when really it's all fake. So again, these things are built on recruitment, the MLM part, and not real tangible utility and not real use cases of these tokens and the blockchain or anything. And again, like I said, once the new sign up stops, it all collapses. So again, they make money. They exist to make money for the founders and not to actually solve real world problems, even though that's what they claim sometimes. But yeah, for me, it's very clear. All right. Now, this is just an example that I've used here, and I did post on my social media. If you haven't seen Texit Coin, I've had arguments with some people about this, but anyway, let's look at, just compare it to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has 21 max supply. It's decentralized. It's open source. Anyone can participate. Anyone can, mine it. Everyone can it's full 100% open, and it's got global adoption by real people and real businesses. People are buying cars, houses, and things with Bitcoin. It's traded on all the exchanges that exist out there. There's real mining. It's transparent. It's audited. Like, the code is verified that it's, there's no scam in it, or there's no nothing in it. It's unstoppable. Now, Texit Coin, this is one of the latest garbage coins created. It claims it's a limited supply, but there's no real proof or edit of the code. And what I mean by edit of the code, like I said, a crypto is essentially cryptography and mathematical code, and they can write whatever they want. And unless that code is audited by reputable companies that say, yes, this code is legitimate, there's no scam part in it, there's no backdoor that they can completely change everything. If there's no code audit, you're basically opening up yourself that anything can be changed at any time. Also, Texit is completely centralized by the one person or whoever is operating it, right? There's no publicly verifiable mining proof on the blockchain. And they sell basically mining packages. You buy a node. But the problem is you must buy the node through the company. Completely against decentralization, completely against the open blockchain aspect of anyone can participate. They literally don't allow anyone to participate. For example, I should be technically able to, at home, mine Texit Coin if I wanted to, but I can't. I have to go through a company. So if it's a company that created this and controls everything, what's the point of it? There is really no point. So, like I said, there's no evidence that, there's any mining, and there's no evidence of what they do with the funds that you pay them. And what we need to understand, you pay them for these mining nodes, but half of it must go to pay out the MLM side. And then they basically give you these useless shit tokens as they're mining, which they just print at any moment. They can create it easily. So there's basically no use case to these tokens, because why would there be? There's much better alternatives. They claim that it's going to be the next sound money, and it's going to be adopted by supermarkets and shops, and people are going to use it to pay for things. It's absolutely crazy, because there's Bitcoin that's far superior. There's Litecoin, there's Ethereum, there's Solana, there's endless tokens that actually beat it in every measurable metric and aspect. And it's already adopted. I mean, Litecoin, for example, you can pay with it on PayPal, MoneyGram, all these things. And then literally they fake all these price charts, and it's all completely MLM driven. No one in their right mind is buying this garbage, except only the people that are in the MLM side promoting it. Also, let's keep one thing in mind, because when these crypto scams come along saying that it's going to be the next sound money, and it's going to be what people will use and pay. I can assure you now, no government anywhere in the world will allow anyone or anything to take over their currency systems. And as much as Bitcoin is unstoppable, at any point, any government can technically ban it so people can't use it. People will still be able to buy it. But my point is, they're not going to let something be above their systems and their fiat currencies, their government currency. It's just not going to happen ever. The whole world would have to completely change for something, to happen like that. And also, Texit coin is completely centralized. It's created by a person. So we're saying we don't trust that person, the government, but we're going to trust this person because it's not decentralized. It's not open. It's not permissionless. It's not bought. It's none of these things that actual crypto is. So anyway, that's just one example of one scam that's claiming all these absurd, ridiculous things. Now, Web3 is another, like I said, term that they use to fool people. It's basically a vision of the internet where users control their own data and assets. Again, it is used in real world case where, there's Uniswap, for example, which is peer-to-peer trading, and it's decentralized. There is an aspect of owning your content and digital identity, so it can be good in that. But it's useless when it's, again, controlled by a central party, or a company that claims, Web3 or decentralization. It's sort of like decentralization. And it's just normal apps with crypto wallets added. This is how they're useless. And it's a useless product and platform. Again, just all hype and jargon to try and fool the uneducated. So yeah, it's just the buzzwords to use and pump. They sometimes even have useless tokens and fake platforms. Now, the automated trading and passive income, this is the one that's the biggest scams and Ponzies. They're also sometimes called high yield investment platforms because they promote and guarantee high returns. And these are all these, bots, AI bots that there's no actual tangible, verifiable evidence of any of them existing. And yeah, they're all on like platforms and all these things that promise profits. Now, there are actual real traders or bots with verifiable history, track record that you can actually copy and use. They do exist, and they're useful in that instance. And there are some tools that you can use to generate returns in your own brokerage account or your own exchange. So they're useful in that aspect. But it's useless when there's no proof, no logic, no history. It's just a claim. And that's what all these scams and Ponzi's do. We've got this great AI bot. Give us your money. Prove it. There's nothing. It's just a claim, but there's no tangible, verifiable evidence. And they fool people with like a dashboard that shows it. But that's the thing, that when you understand trading and how it works, and that, how you can verify things, and if that verification doesn't exist, then I can very easily tell it's a scam and a Ponzi, because every real opportunity has proven verifiable records that you can actually verify. If it's a scam and a Ponzi, they can't provide those things because they don't exist. If it existed, they would provide it. I can guarantee you that, because it's in their best interest to provide it, because they would get more investors, they would get more people. So if there's no tangible, verifiable evidence of any of what they claim. So yeah, and again, it's useless if you send them your funds. That's, like I said, in one of the basic rules of spotting a scam and a Ponzi. If they ask you, send us your funds, forget it. It's something that's guaranteed to be a scam and a Ponzi. There's also legal things around that, and that's coming up soon. But yeah, so a scam is basically when all these automated guaranteed returns are promising 1% a day to 3% a day, or even monthly 10% a day. Any promise of future guarantees of actual numbers, scam and a Ponzi. Even promising future profits is a scam and a Ponzi. Anything legitimate won't even promise you that you'll make profit in the future, because they don't make those guarantees and profits because, you know, like I said, tomorrow doesn't exist. So yes, they have these fake bots, artificial bullshit bots, and they fake these dashboards and they use MLM to promote it because there is no real product. So they're paying people to go and get other people. Also, smart contracts, another buzzword. It's basically, and smart contract is basically code that, you know, runs when a certain condition is met. So something happens, you know, do this. And it's useful because it removes the middleman. There's no trust. So it's great for like escrows, lending, royalty payments, stuff like that, where you can set it up on the blockchain and, you know, a person can't change it, can't do anything. There can be no cheating. But it's useless when the code is not verified, there's hidden backdoors and all this stuff, and there's no real activity. And the scams use these smart contract buzzwords and hype when the founders can still change everything and manage everything. And they just copied some template from another scam. And you know, they have these paid via smart contracts, but it's fully controlled and initiated and can be stopped by them, by a human. Okay, and AI, which we all know, that's the latest scams. It's all this bullshit AI mining, AI bots, and AI this, AI that. And AI is essentially software that learns and adapts, right? And it's great for gathering data. It's great for saving time and all those things. It's great for like language translation, predictions, automation. It's great for medical diagnosis, driver assistance. All these use cases are great. But it's useless when there's nothing verifiable and you've got these fake AI dashboards where there's no literally evidence of anything that, you know, they claim that is AI or using AI. They got these basic scripts disguised as intelligence. And what we need to understand with AI is shit in, shit out. What I mean by that is, I don't know if you use ChatGPT, I use it a lot, and it's great at time saving, but it's exceptionally bad if you ask it to do something and you're not very specific, it will give you back garbage, right? And that's what I mean by shit in, shit out. You have to be very, very good and precise and accurate and know what to ask for, in what way and how. So, you know, AI can be good, but I can assure you it's nowhere near at the stage where people are claiming and using it, that we've got this great AI bot that's able to beat the markets and think for itself and do all these things. So yes, the scams are the guaranteed profits and AI bots and AI mining where there's no tangible real evidence. Metaverse, another one, is just virtual spaces where you can play and interact. It's useful for events, meetings, trainings. You know, it's useful for like digital fashion, real estate simulations, but it's useless when there's basically no users. It's just hype. There's no real use case for it, no real purpose. It's just they use the term metaverse and they're selling these garbage fake bullshit tokens that they have sometime that do nothing, are going to go to zero, and they're just selling hype and air. Another one is next generation. It's literally just a meaningless buzzword. Yes, there's actual innovation that happens, which is 5G, new batteries, real biotech, but it's just a buzzword, and it's next generation crypto. What the hell does that even mean? It's not, there's no real product, there's no real use case, it's not solving anything that Bitcoin or other cryptos have solved better, already done. It's just fancy terms to lure in investors. And also, I can assure you, like I said before, if someone has a truly groundbreaking next generation technology, they wouldn't need your money and they definitely wouldn't be offering it to you. Again, it's very easy to find VC investors, people that have millions, that will give it to you in a heartbeat if you have something groundbreaking. They're not going to go to the everyday person and try and get 100 here, 1,000 there, 100 here, and then give you back a lot of the money of it. It's just not going to happen. All right. Here's just some examples of how they trick you and the buzzwords. So blockchain, how they use it. Built on blockchain, immutable ledger, revolutionizing finance. This is one of the latest crazy buzzwords. But the reality is there's no actual blockchain utility. The blockchain's rubbish. The vague claims without any transparency or any working product or any real world use case. AI, They use it AI-powered trading, AI-powered mining, smart AI algorithms, machine learning profit engine. But in reality, just fake scripts, fake dashboards, fake photos and videos, but there's nothing tangible, verifiable, proven. Again, crypto token, they use it. Our native token, this is a big one. Next, Bitcoin, right? So all of us, unfortunately, are kicking ourselves for not buying Bitcoin back 10 years ago, whatever. So we fall for these bullshit, useless tokens that are so cheap, thinking this is going to be the next Bitcoin. No, nothing on this planet will ever be the next Bitcoin. There's only one Bitcoin and nothing will beat it because it's so unique and it's the only thing of its kind. Yes, there are other cryptos, but they're different. Bitcoin is unique and it's basically digital gold and will always be the biggest crypto. And that's just how it's going to be. I could be wrong, but based on my experience, knowledge, and understanding and adoption and everything, there's not going to be a next Bitcoin. There could be some other tech that maybe might be bigger in the future, but there's only ever going to be one Bitcoin. So don't fall for these next Bitcoin that you think is going to go up in value when it's just a shitless garbage token along with the other 45 million. But they're basically, like I said, they're just worthless tokens used to justify the pay to play. So you give them your money, they give you this shit token, and they pump it and dump it. So they artificially pump up the price, and then you just see it all of a sudden start going down very fast. Again, Web3 decentralization, decentralized economy, Web3 empowerment, ownership revolution. It's actually run by a group of people, insiders with full control. So it's completely against what all these terms mean and how they operate. So, or it's just a completely terrible alternative and useless garbage to the centralized version. Passive income, earn while you sleep, set and forget, 100% hands-free returns, all these, but it's just new money paying old money, old investors. It's just straight up Ponzi because again, there's no tangible, verifiable evidence of any of these income claims. Again, automated trading, AI copy trading, fully automated strategy, Wall Street grade bots. But again, no verifiable track record. They're fake trades, they're fake dashboards, fake stuff, and just manipulated numbers on a screen. Guaranteed returns, how they use it, daily ROI, consistent profits of 1.1 to 3% a day, low risk, high reward. But the reality is all investments carry a risk, so there should be major disclaimers, no guarantees. And if there's any guaranteed profit, like I said, it's complete red flag. Stay away from it. Smart contracts, they use it secured by smart contracts, no human interference, but it's poorly coded or meaningless contracts that don't protect users and they have full control over it and they have backdoors. Quantum computing, metaverse, all this garbage. It's just the keyword salad, word salad, buzzword salad to impress non-tech savvy users. Okay, now I did a video on this, reality versus false expectations, okay? What we need to keep in mind of real returns in traditional markets and in crypto. Traditional markets is Forex, indices, all these things. The best hedge fund on the planet, and this is like a history, the best that's ever existed, on average makes 66% a year, okay? And which is about 5.5% a month. This is like the best, and me will never ever have access to it because it's completely closed off to any investors. This is sort of like for some of the super elites. If you're in there, you got in there somehow, that's it, but it's completely closed. That makes 5.5 a month on average. And like I said, this is so far like the best of the best, because after that, the most top performing hedge funds in sort of traditional markets, they make and aim for about 10 to 20% a year. That's how the big gap is. There's only one that's so good and all the others about 10, 20%. And those are the really, really good ones that maybe some of us have access to, because even in a lot of those, we don't. It's only, again, for the super rich. So they make about 1 to 2% a month. These are the best of the best on the planet, arguably. And so when a shitty bullshit platform comes along saying they're going to make you 10% a month consistently, it's absurd. It's pure, absurd. So just be mindful of the reality of what is possible and tangible versus some bullshit lie from a scam and a Ponzi. And that's how all these people have potentially false expectations, because there's so many scams and Ponzi's making these promises. So they're constantly looking for ways to make these absurd, ridiculously high, unsustainable scam and Ponzi returns. But again, keep in mind of the real returns that the best of the best produce. Now, in crypto, even in crypto, real trading firms rarely exceed these numbers sustainably over a long period of time. Yes, in crypto, short term, you can make a lot more. You can see higher returns, especially in the bull market, but with crypto, it's first of all, there's no predictable, nothing's consistent, and it's very high risk, and things can go and change drastically overnight. I'm sure if you've been in crypto, you've seen it go just all of a sudden fall off a cliff. So again, false expectations is when you see a platform promising you 1 to 3% a day, 10% a month, something like this. It's not real and sustainable. These numbers are designed to literally attract victims and not reflect real investing. You're basically gambling to see, if you can pull any money out of it. There's no real trading or no real mining. No legit investment in stock, Forex, crypto offers fixed, high, daily, consistent profits. Impossible. Nothing will do it. Nothing legit. So again, if a platform claims that it beats the best investors in the world consistently with no risk and guarantees returns, it's not an opportunity. It's a Ponzi and a scam. Also, many people don't know that there's actually regulations and laws. So if someone takes your money to invest or trade it on your behalf, they're offering something called as a security and must actually follow strict laws. They must be licensed as a fund manager, investment advisor, or whatever. And they have to be registered with financial authorities in whatever country they're in. So like SEC, FCA, ASICs. These are government organizations, like ASICS is in Australia, SEC is in USA. So they have to actually be registered and licensed to take your funds. And none of these platforms are. So they're actually doing stuff against the law. And these laws exist because otherwise I can just say, hey, I've got this amazing crypto bot. It's going to make 10% for you. Now give me your money. And then you give me your money and bye-bye, I disappear with it tomorrow. So it's trying to stop these people from just stealing from people and scamming them. And that's why, yes, and also they have to be compliant with KYC and all these funding and handling rules, fund handling rules. They can't just do whatever they want with their money. They have to have strict rules around it. So again, examples of regulated activities is where there's hedge funds, where they're registered, licensed, fully transparent. It's fully legit. But again, like I said, the ones that are more accessible to the everyday person is maximum 10, 20%. Passive income or ROI programs, crypto nodes or trading bot promising returns. There are some that are regulated, but if it's not regulated and it's not registered and it's not abiding by law, forget it. It's pure scam and Ponzi. So again, red flags and legal risk. It's illegal if they're not licensed or registered and if they're taking your money. If they promise guaranteed returns or fixed returns, again, scam and a Ponzi. If they don't show verifiable trading or income sources, it's illegal, scam and a Ponzi. And if they don't use regulated custodian or segregated accounts, that's something else that they generally can't do. They can't just pull people's money into one big bucket. They have to segregate it and use custodians. Like they can't just hold it in their own bank account. They have to have someone that's holding that money. They strict all these rules that, legally they have to follow. And there are harsh penalties You know, there's cease and desist orders given by these government organizations. There's heavy fines, there's criminal charges in jail. Now, unfortunately, because there's so many scams every day, very few, unfortunately, go to jail or face criminal fines. And because they use crypto, very hard how they get away with it. So if someone wants your money to generate returns, they must follow law and security laws. If not, it's guaranteed scam Ponzi. If you're already sending your money, it's pretty much a scam and a Ponzi. A regulated hedge fund will be registered and you'll know it's registered and legal and law.